Coming up today on Locked On at Texas Tech, news of Elijah Hawkins being in the transfer portal. Why? And the odds on a return to college basketball and doing so in a Red Raider uniform. Next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you. And coming up on today's episode, a proposal that's floating some new automatic qualifying criteria for the college football playoff moving forward, generating some reaction. You may call it backlash, even in some circles. We'll tell you what that's about. Also want to get to some things happening on a hoops front, somewhat unanticipated for me, at least, to see things in the headlines like Elijah Hawkins to the transfer portal. What's it mean? What's it all about? You thought you knew what the world was. You go to sleep, you wake up. It's a brave new world. That's kind of the era we're living in, it seems like, Chris. So hopefully we can fill in some of the blanks for the fine people out there on this episode. We'll catch up on any of the latest also going on, of course, with the basketball program transfer portal efforts, as a window has now closed for entry, but obviously the window for agreement and addition is still wide open. So the good times continue to roll. Chris, I hope you're ready.
So, yeah, Elijah Hawkins is a graduating senior. He gets into the portal. What are we doing? Other players have also done this that have no more eligibility left, have gotten into the portal. Why would they be doing this? And it's pretty clear that Texas Tech, would need, want, prefer another guard, especially somebody that can handle the ball. Okay, we've established that. I think you could go at it with what you've currently got, but I think the preference would be that you have somebody else. If that young man was Elijah Hawkins, I think we'd all be fairly pumped and excited about that.
Chris, my scouting says this guy fits the kind of profile we're looking for.
Yeah. Hashtag analysis right there. That's what you get here on on Locked On Texas Tech. So what is happening is that these individuals are taking a chance or being advised to, hey man, it can't hurt, because there's a lot of chatter out there in the space about the whole 5-and-5 rule that's been discussed and proposed and talked about and all those things, which means at some point you're going to get 5 years to play your 5 years. And if you get hurt one of those years, or if you get hurt 2 of those years, hey man, tough luck. I don't know if there'll be any caveats to this, because right now you're getting waivers and you've got the COVID year and you've got all the stuff. And it's just, well, we're waiting on the NCAA to rule on it. We filed a waiver because this is kind of what happened and all this stuff. And I think that the thing about a rule like this is it just makes it very simple. And it takes a lot of that waiver process away. Like, hey, man, here's the deal. Okay, so there was some North Carolina and Duke players that were, I don't know all the legalese, but basically it was in court, and they were kind of saying, hey, man, I'd like another year to be able to earn some money as a college student. And the judge ruled on it earlier this week and was like, yeah, no, I'm not changing it. Okay, but there's still enough chatter out there that this is a rule that I think is an eventuality. I have lots of questions about that, because when does it come into effect, and then what who does it mean for for what classification, or when do you start it? And who does it affect? Are we talking current college athletes? Are we just saying, so what the reason that I think some are pushing for it right now is because the Elijah Hawkinses of the world. There's plenty of athletes out there that are really good that I think aren't staring at a professional career, that their current schools would say, I'd love to have you back. I mean, please, like, sure. This is like, Christmas come way early in April. The reason I feel like this is unrealistic to happen right now. And again, these guys are just like, hey man, if you're not in the portal, then you're kind of hosed. So a lot of these guys, basketball wise, got in and they're in there. And now if the Hail Mary is caught, then they'll be able to go, yeah, man, I can go here or there or wherever. But what I think will probably happen, because you're squeezing some folks too here. If you were to implement this, say right now, and say, yes, all seniors get an extra year if you only have played 4 or whatever, you're squeezing a lot of folks, because it's like there's been no time to like plan for this. I don't know how, like, and not, it's not just basketball, but like really all the sports, like you haven't really had time to like acclimate and going, dude, okay, so say you're one of these programs that is the school year is about to end, and you're like, let's take soccer or volleyball, for instance, this coming up in the fall. Football would fall into this as well. You are sitting here basically going, I'm about to, like, some of my seniors are about to graduate and off into the way we go. We've got a whole incoming class of freshmen. And you're telling me, like, days before the semester ends, hey, all the seniors, they can come back. Okay, so what now? And so that's some of the argument against this and like the immediacy of it. But what I think will happen is that I think this is probably something, and again, I'm guessing here, but I think that this is a bit educated on the guess. I think this is something that is really ruled upon potentially at the NCAA convention in maybe like January, and voted on. And I'm not saying that's how this will go, but I can see that happening and or more time given to this, to where it allows everybody involved to say, hey, this coming fall or this January, we're going to implement this rule. It goes into effect the next August. So then everybody that's recruiting and everybody's got time to kind of get adjusted to this and what this means and how they would recruit and allocate scholarships, revenue sharing, all the stuff. Do I think Elijah Hawkins is suiting up for you next year? No. Would I love that? 1,000%. I'm just trying to, and I think they would love to have him back.
Sure.
As it stands right now, you're trying to, finish up your team with your Virginia Commonwealth transfer that goes by the name of Luke
Bamboye.
There you go. And then there's a lot of contacts with some guards out there. There's an international guard out there. Some of this may take some time and all that, but I think Elijah Hawkins would skip to the front of the line and you'd go, see this orange pill right here? It's all yours, brother. Take us home. Give me 200 dimes again this year, and we are in really, really good shape. But I think that's wishful thinking. But this is why you're seeing this, and this is why it's all happening. But I do think that rule is an eventuality. I really do, and I think that it needs more time to get phased in or get voted on or whatever. Because I don't think this has anything to do with the House settlement case. This is a separate, I think, argument or conversation going on and maybe being litigated differently. I don't think that this has anything to do with once this House case is settled on, which could be imminent. It could have happened by the time you see this or whatever, but I think that is imminent. So,
all right. Well, I'm glad I asked you about it because I figured you'd cut to the quick, and I'm sorry for texting you so late over and over last night, so early this morning. What's happening? Should I buy into this? People are talking about Elijah Hawkins. And Chris said, hey, stay tuned for the next episode of Locked On Texas Tech. That's even what I get told. So I'm glad I tuned in. because I wanted to know. It is a dream. I'd love to dream, but if it's not worth dreaming, then I'm going to go ahead and move on to other pursuits. But that was kind of something that I think in a roundabout way, this possibility has revealed something in some text exchanges I've been having with some Matador mobsters. It was more than just a few who were dreaming about this possibility, Chris, but I think in that it kind of revealed also. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and the NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on all the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet hits. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to really win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. I think in that it kind of revealed also, it seemed like a real antsiness or anxiousness as it relates to this makeup of the team with Christian Anderson primarily as a point guard. And it just goes back to something we've been talking about and trying to hash out, just, some concern about, do you limit what could be a really, really good scorer if he's forced to kind of carry that role? Or how does it impact your team if you have more of a scoring point guard as opposed to a facilitating point guard? I know that we've discussed these things on prior episodes, but I think some of our Matador mobsters and some of the viewers and listeners in the comments section are kind of getting back to thinking what it could look like with a guy like Elijah Hawkins out there. And man, it looked really good last year. So we're not going to know until they start bouncing the ball and we get into the season, obviously, how it could work out. And we don't know until we see a roster completed on the perimeter what to even anticipate as far as that goes. But I got to admit, I fall into it as well. Just, really thinking about how nice it could be to have that distributor again, able to carry that load in that way. But when I say that, I probably am unfairly kind of limiting maybe what Christian Anderson can do in a different kind of role or a more prominent kind of role. So I certainly don't want to put any low ceiling on him.
I doubt he would view it that way. I think he would welcome, I would be surprised if he wouldn't welcome somebody like Elijah Hawkins and be like, hey, man, let's run it back, kid.
Right.
But so because of the court case, ruling being imminent, a lot of business around the country is trying to be conducted fairly quickly. And with that, that would end theoretically the front-loaded money concept, and it would fall back onto, under the new guidelines, rev sharing and then traditional NIL, which means it's got to be vetted through this committee or whatever we're coming up with there, and you've got to be real. It's got to be on the up and up and whatever. I just will be real interested to see if this thing has any teeth or not, because as we talk about business, about to be wrapped up and whatnot. I mean, there's still some quote unquote big ticket items out there to be had. And I would guess most schools have most of their rev share numbers spoken for. So it makes for an interesting situation, like with you trying to tweak and add and everything, and then others, and then there's some really talented players out there. Are these guys that just, hey man, I'm just going to stay in the draft because the candy's all been handed out. I'm here for a trick or treat, and it's like they're trying to hand me a toothbrush. So I think I'll just go to I'll go off to the association or see what's next professionally. But like Texas Tech may, for example, you've got some spots open. I don't pretend to know like how much rev share or what you're prepared to do in the traditional sense of an NIL, but you may be because maybe you're one of few that have spots open, and maybe there's somebody out there that is ready to sit in a chair, but there's no chairs to be had, and maybe you end up being lucky and getting somebody that doesn't cost you a ton because he needs somewhere to play, or maybe you do have some rev share money earmarked for a certain player and all that. So I think that some of this is going to play out on the guard front. I think you're trying to get your big wrapped up and done and all those things, and so we'll just kind of we'll kind of see. But the flurry of activity, if there is any, wherever it is, this is why. Because I think that the assumption is once this judge rules, there isn't going to be hey, okay, now we've got this, you've got a week to get everything conducted and all that, or hey, you can just like put last week's date on this contract with the collective. Or do these contracts not mean anything? I don't know. I'm just telling you how most schools are conducting themselves and how the conferences are advising said schools on how to do it just to keep themselves out of trouble and out of whatever. So there you go. That's as good as I can do for right now.
All right. Appreciate the perspective on that. We'll switch gears before we get out of here and get to another bit of news, or at least some reporting indicating something that could be very, very interesting as it relates to college football's future postseason. And I could hardly believe this whenever it comes across, Chris. I don't know why I would be so shocked to see something like this, a part of a selection process or automatic qualifying process if we were thinking about postseason fields in the future. But I saw this, I think this was an ESPN report, if I'm not mistaken, talking about possibilities. And of course, we can run wild with many, many possibilities. But when it comes to entry into the postseason, this was actually mentioned in this report. A model in which each Power Four league can earn guaranteed spots through a combination of its team's overall records and maybe, quote, even TV ratings, end quote. The highest ranked conferences would earn the most automatic bids. In a world of never say never, I guess I should never say never, but this seems like a bridge too far. How'd this sit with you? First, today's episode brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and more, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And with the latest technology for elevated playing, you're at the cutting edge of gaming all the time. With Wi-Fi 6, 6E, and auto low latency mode advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to compete. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. That's Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On. To get started, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube third generation.
You know the old the theory of you float the trial balloon out there and just kind of see which way it floats and then see the reaction. So this is what I think, and again, I this has more to do with the TV rating thing. Wouldn't necessarily be applied to who makes it in. It would be more applied to how teams are seeded. But it's unless I'm misunderstanding it, that's the way I read this like several times and trying to grasp it. I think it had more to do with, but here's the thing. This whole conversation, it has nothing to do with TV ratings and all that. They're trying to distract you. They're trying to, I don't want to say like cause a stir, because what I think you're about to get is this plan that gives these leagues automatic bids 4-4-2-2 and then 1-1 or however they want to do it. Because you remember the outrage about that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And now I bet they give this to you, but they go, "Hey, man, but we didn't do anything with the TV ratings. It's a tactic,
right?
That, in my opinion, that I think that you're going to feel like all of a sudden better about automatic bids because TV ratings aren't affected. The TV rating thing is, we know that this factors in. We know that this has a lot to do with realignment. We know that this has a lot to do with why certain schools got into certain leagues and what they're worth and all the things. it's lunacy to think that you could actually include this in a meaningful way simply because you can widen home plate. Home plate is 17 inches. It's non-negotiable. Okay. There's too many people out there that want to widen it, shrink it, all that. No, it's 17 inches, the end. Like there is no, the pitcher wants to widen it. The batter wants to shrink it. I mean, but when you're talking about an entity like ESPN that controls so much of this inventory, they can rig however they want on getting their or certain teams or certain conferences teams or whatever to increase their ratings because they've widened the plate. So this is, again, this is my opinion. I think this was a total distraction and hey, look over here. Meanwhile, automatic bids, this is what you're going to get. This is what I think will happen. They're all meeting this week, and I think you're going to get, some potential answers on what this format and all that will look like in 26. Right now, to be fair, the imminent thing is how will this year's, which it remains unchanged, how will this year's playoff be seeded? They didn't like it. They didn't like the 4 byes and the 4 conference championships get the bye or champions get the byes and all that stuff. They're trying to tweak that, but the big picture and the TV ratings part of this is for 26 and beyond. But I think automatic bids are coming, and then you're going to get into. We'll have a whole bunch of separate conversations about how do we get to those automatic bids, because I think conference championship weekend could be wild going forward, and lots of regular season meaning still, which I think is great. So anyway, sorry for being long-winded, but yeah, that's my opinion on where I think that is going.
And I'm not someone as a fan, I know there are varying opinions on this, but as a fan of a program in the Big 12 Conference, I'm not someone that's been afraid of that automatic bid discrepancy. I think it's reality. I think it should be more 3-3-2-2, but if you got the gold, you're making the rules, and that's just the way the world works. So I don't know why you would have any trouble grasping or embracing that reality within college football or college sports. I do think the problem that I see, and I said this leaving last year's postseason, and we'll continue to say it moving into whatever new era we're going to get into, is not necessarily so much with the discrepancy in automatic bid numbers. It is the real estate typically reserved for, whether automatically or just in the minds of pencil pushers across the nation, group of 5 champions and or the group of 5 champion. If you're going to have a spot for that kind of program, within a 4-team, absurd, and there never was. 6-8 team, absurd. 12, starting to think that way also. 14, still kind of thinking that way. I feel like, Chris, I would certainly be more – I feel like it would be more representative of what a regular season actually includes if you get to those at-large bids on the back end of it, and we're still almost exclusively talking about Power 4 conference teams. Now, I know some people out there are going to be afraid of, well, there's another, was there 6 bids for the SEC? Is there 5 for the Big 10 at the end of the day if you get there? Sure, maybe. I don't know. But I'd still think those teams are more deserving than some who run through a group of 5 schedule, maybe have one opponent with a pulse, and it might have been 4 months prior to the postseason, maybe 2. There's just no comparison, and I think we see it time after time, either in the previous BCS system, bowl system, whatever, where if you get into a one-off situation, maybe Boise State does surprise Oklahoma, but you get into a true playoff where it's got to be repeated time and time again. I don't think you see that happen, and the fact that we did see what a buy for one of those, I guess, last time around is just I don't think that's good business necessarily, but I don't know if we ever get past that, because I feel like in a lot of ways, that's really related to those voters and college football committee members who love that shiny record. You just can't get past that shiny record if there's a 0 or a 1 in the loss column. And I'm someone who is rooted for the have-not within the spectrum of power conference programs. Now, obviously, we think that's changing in the 806 as far as the resources, but historically, I like to see the little guy get a chance. So I'm not trying to keep him out, but the ratio has always been off to me if it's going to require group of 5 inclusion. The ratio of the spot they've got reserved for them as a percentage of the real estate available overall we're getting closer to that maybe being better. But to me, that's the biggest beef I got. It ain't, man, the SEC gets 4, the Big 12 or ACC gets 2. Matter of fact, if I'm the ACC, look at you. We lost double blue bloods, like 4.5 blue bloods over the last 10 years, and you're still with us. Wow. So I don't know, man. If there is a problem, that's the direction I would go. More so the group of 5 aspect of it. But I got to be honest, in reality, I don't think that's an argument that plays very well nationally.
Yeah, and when you've got the Notre Dame, asterisk next to this deal too, so we'll see what you get. The part that I think that is good for the sports fan, because I told you this, I guess it was last summer when this first was floated out there. I thought, okay, I mean, while it's demeaning. If you get 2 bids and they get 4, or you feel like less than or whatever, but I mean, again, that you've signed away any sort of power to the Big Ten commissioner and the SEC commissioner, and so if they're willing to give you 2 bids, I'd take it and run. I mean, I'm like, it is more, it's twice as many as what you were getting, and I'm not trying to say that you just, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you letting me, be here, kind of thing. I mean, you still push hard and you do, but there's just some reality to some of this stuff.
Yes.
But I do think that conference championship weekend, if we get to this point, would be dramatically changed. I think each conference would view that differently, but I think there's more money to be made. And this is also why Brett Yormark is not willing to give up so easily his bye this year. Okay. That's the only thing he's got any say so on, is this coming December for the Big 12 champ. Until they reseed it or change the rule on it, right now they are in line to get a bye, just like last year, which was what Arizona State benefited from. Because that comes with a dollar figure. I can't remember if it was like somewhere between $2 to $4 million that the league would get. And so he's like, so you just expect me just to give this money away? Like, this is what you're asking me to do you don't like the reseeding? So I think if there's some, I don't think it was as much about a competitive advantage or disadvantage or whatever, as much as it was as a financial. That's the whole point. Sure. You're trying to survive. And I think that you reseeding and switching up that stuff, that affects this league financially. We don't have these flush coffers and all that stuff, but there will be more money to be made on conference championship weekend that may include more than one game in some scenarios, and may not even include the team that won the regular season title or that would be viewed the 1 seed. It could be all over the map with how these leagues would want to treat their automatic buys, similar to maybe a conference tournament with a lot more meaning. A lot.
That's really interesting. You've brought that up before. That's a crazy thought to consider, but it could be a lot of fun. I don't know, but it could be a lot of fun. And
I'm here for it. I'm here for the fun. I'm here for more access. More access to that. Yes. Yeah.
And to me, I wouldn't mind if the regular season conference champion wasn't there, because this thought of somehow winning the conference championship game means you're the conference champion, I don't subscribe to. I don't know when that changed, but to me, the regular season champion is the conference champion. If you happen to win the conference championship game, quote unquote, then fine, you can have a separate trophy. But I do not feel like someone who runs through a league schedule, maybe takes the first L in that league championship game after beating that opponent previously, has then got to all of a sudden give up the league title. That's not the way I view it. Other people view it differently. But I do feel like already in the Big 12 conference, we saw the biggest shaft extended to anyone in the nation to a Big 12 member in BYU last year. And meanwhile, Boise State is a 3 seed. That just can't happen with a group of 5 program. I'm sorry. The only spot that should ever be reserved for a group of 5 program is the final seed in the whole freaking thing. Whether that's 12, 14, 16, 32, there's your spot. Maybe 32 is extreme. I'd give you a 25 seed in a 32 team field, Boise State. All right, Chris, appreciate the insight and the time as always, man. Enjoyed it. Do let us know your reaction to these things out there among Big 12 fans or otherwise, because maybe you see it totally differently. So shoot us a text if you're in the Matador Mob, or let us know in the YouTube comments. Chris, appreciate you, and we'll see you for the next one.
Sounds good. More fascinating theories when we return on Locked On Texas Tech for the next edition. Yeah. TV ratings. Come on, man. I mean, come on. Come on.
I do keep the lid lined with tinfoil for conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
All right.
great.
Appreciate y'all being out there. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss a thing. Thanks to the everydayers for always riding along. And shout out to the Matador Mob if you're interested in joining that. Hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. It is your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one texts sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. And we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.